So it is the weekend for me. I guess it depends on when you're watching this video, but if you are live with me, then it's the weekend for you too. And so on the weekend, I try to do some things that I don't have time to or just didn't think about during the week. And one of those things is I wanted to make some homemade pumpkin puree. And the reason why I'm doing that is I write a blog, and one of my very good friends all the way from high school had actually commented on my blog because the blog was about pumpkin. Right now there's pumpkin everything, right? You can get pumpkin drinks, you could get pumpkin in savory dishes, you can get pumpkin in baked goods, right? There's just pumpkin everything. And so one of my friends had commented that, canned pumpkin is not real pumpkin, because I had mentioned that even when it's not pumpkin season, you can still get pumpkin. You can still get the nutrients that you would get from pumpkin, because you can get canned pumpkin as long as you make sure that it does say 100% pumpkin on the label, that it doesn't have all the extra ingredients. So this is a way to get your pumpkin and keep it healthy. The thing about it is that most of the times when people have canned pumpkin, that's the thing, is that it's got all that sugar and all those spices. So if you do your own, or again, if you get just pumpkin puree that doesn't have all of the additives, so you don't want something that says pumpkin pie filling or pumpkin pie puree, right? Because that means it's got all of the spices and things in it. You want just pumpkin. But here's the thing, and this is what my friend sent me the info about, which I was actually aware of, is that canned pumpkin, very often is not actually pumpkin. It's a squash, so they're still able to label it canned pumpkin, and it still does have the same nutrients as pumpkins, nutrients and vitamins as pumpkin, and so they're able to label it pumpkin. That's why they're able to do that. But just so you know, that even the most popular brand, the very most popular brand, y'all probably know which brand I'm talking about, but that brand, they actually have their own variety of squash that they use for their canned pumpkin, and people love that brand because everyone says it makes the best pumpkin pie. That is because they use that variety because it's a sweeter variety of squash. Regular pumpkin actually is not very sweet at all. And so the pumpkin puree that I'm showing you, you could either add what you need to, like the sugar and nutmeg and cinnamon and all of the spices to sweeten it up. Or if having all that sugar is actually not ideal for you, then rather than getting pumpkin that way, it's better for you to do it this way, and you're getting real pumpkin. Plus, I always like to go fresh when I can, and while it's a season and while I have time, because I've actually got one cooking right now, is that I would go ahead and could even freeze it, right? Go ahead and puree it and freeze it. So we're gonna make homemade pumpkin puree. So what I've got in front of me, this little thing, and you're all like, oh, that's so cute. That's because this is not what you're used to seeing, but this is actually a pumpkin pie pumpkin. So this is the variety that you want to use for pumpkin pie. It actually does have a little bit more flavor. It is a little bit sweeter, but this is truly pumpkin, and it's not gonna be super sweet because it's pumpkin. So the hardest part that I'm gonna do right now, is actually the cutting of it. And so what we're gonna do here is the instructions. So there's actually instructions that come on the pumpkin. There's a little sticker and there's instructions, and it actually tells you cut off the stem, cut off the bottom, cut it up into squares, and put it into the oven. The cutting's the hardest part. I don't want to do all that. So the stem is going to stay on and I'll show you. What I do want to do though is I want to get it cut in half, and so in order to do that, I am going to go kind of an angle. And pumpkin is super, super hard to cut through, so you want to be careful. This is the part, and you all know if you carved pumpkins with your kids, that this is the part that usually you do because it's too hard for them to do, right? So you go ahead and take your knife and you put it at an angle, and it helps you if you have a really, really sharp knife. This is also my weekend workout, I guess if you want to call it that. Now I need to sit down. All right, and let me show you. So then you've got the inside of your pumpkin, right? And it's pretty close to half, not exactly, but it's pretty close to half. You've got the inside of your pumpkin. And so if you are, if you like pumpkin seeds, you could actually go ahead and scoop all this out, rinse off the extra pulp, and be able to roast the pumpkin seeds. But in my house, we're just not huge fans of the pumpkin seeds. So, you know, maybe we should try to plant it just for fun, right? And so what I'm using to scoop this out, you can scoop it out with a spoon, but what I find to be really helpful is the Tupperware ice cream scoop, because it's got this tip, which is great for scooping into starting your ice cream, right, and getting the stuff out of the corners. But also, it works really well to do this, because if you use a regular spoon, you're actually going to have to put a lot more work into it. So I'll go around and scoop this all out. And again, I want to show you the whole process, because it's not just the whole magic of, I know this is not television, but you know, the magic of the live, right? But if you've ever scooped out the center of a pumpkin, you know it is not easy to get all the seeds and pulp out. But I want to show you in just a second here. Do you see that? I got most of it out. Now there is still some stringy stuff in there. I want to get all that out. But do you see that that was pretty painless to do with my Tupperware ice cream scoop? And this scoop, it's because of it's very heavy duty, so the weight of the scoop helps me scoop it out as well. And this is actually the original version. I've been using this one, you guys, for as long as I've been selling Tupperware, which this year is going on 25 years. I cannot believe it. It's kind of freaky for me to think about that I've been doing it that long, but I have. And so I'm going to get all this pulpy stuff out. Again, this ice cream is 25 years old. The new version, because Tupperware's always updating, right? The new version is actually even more ergonomic in its design, and it's more modern looking. This is actually a little bit old fashioned looking, but it works. And think of all the spoons I have not bent over 25 years because I have this. So here we've got our pumpkin hollowed out. Let me get the other side. I'm going to leave it just as is because I want to show you something. And so I'm going to ask, will you give me the pumpkin that was from the oven, please? Thank you. So I want to show you that you could either follow the instructions that was on the pumpkin, and I actually think that that it was a little too long. Normally I do it less, but I thought, you know, Denise, for once, just follow the instructions, and I think it was too long. So what I've got here is I've got half of a pumpkin, see, with the stem on. I just left the stem on because, again, too hard to cut through, right? And then what I'm going to do, it's on our silicone cookie sheet. So then that way my pan, I won't have to clean it. Oh, it might be easier to use my tongs because it's hot. Yeah, it's a little mushy. I think this is too long. I think 30 minutes was too long, but that's what the instructions said. So I want to show you. There's the puree, or not the puree, the pumpkin. And then all I would need to do is scoop out the center. and it comes right out. Woo, this is still pretty warm. I'm not sure if you can see the steam on the video. And put it into my Power Chef. Yeah, there we go. It's coming out. I have to be careful. I don't want any of that outside though. And again, this was half hour. So again, it just depends on how much time that you have. I don't have it totally cleaned out yet, but giving you an idea. And so I'm going to put this towards one side of the Power Chef because I want you to see the difference in color. So again, for those of you that have the time, you can bake it into your oven or bake it in your oven. And be able to get your puree. Oh, and I hear the other one calling. So I got most of that out. Yeah? Okay. That had been sitting out, so I did it for a half hour and then it was sitting out for about a little more than 10 minutes before I actually scooped it. That's why it was still warm, but that's why I was able to handle it. Okay, so on this other one, usually I would say let it sit a few minutes, but I just want to be really cognizant of your time, and thank you for taking the time to join me today to watch me make pumpkin puree. I wonder if you can see the steam when I open it up, because this is our smart multi-cooker. So let's see if that steam shows. Oh yeah, there you go. So did you see that? Was that cool? So that's our smart multi-cooker, and so this portion was our steamer. So there is actually metal on the top here, so the microwaves don't cook the food. Because most steamers that you buy in the store, microwave steamers, they are not steaming your food the way you think about steaming your food. Because when you steam something on the stove, what you're doing is you heat up the water, right? And then you want the steam to cook the food. So you put your food, like usually in a steamer basket, and you want the steam to cook your food. You don't want the it to be boiled. And so in the microwave, the same thing. You want the steam to cook your food. You're not wanting the microwaves to cook your food, though that's not a bad thing. But if you're looking for steamed, with this, the top there that I showed you, the cover, actually is somewhat heavy. And so it's because it's metal encased in Tupperware. And then the steamer basket here also has that same metal encased in the Tupperware. And so the microwaves are not getting to the food. The way that it cooks, maybe I can tilt it this way, you can see. Can you see the holes there? Let me hold it up. Can you see? Yeah, now you can see the holes in the steamer basket. So what happens is this bottom portion here, the water was just at the very bottom, and there's no metal on the base here. So what happened was the microwave heated the water created the steam cooked the pumpkin. And that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to steam the pumpkin. When you steam your fruits and veggies, and again, people say, well, why would you steam fruit? Well, pumpkin's a fruit. So it just depends on how you're planning to use it. But when you steam cook them versus other forms of cooking, you actually retain more vitamins and nutrients. So we've got this pumpkin. So let me show you. Let me pull a piece out there. And it is hot. So I'm going to take a piece out. I'm going to put it on my cutting board, just like I did with the other one. And then, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold it. Maybe I'll use my tongs to hold it because this one is still steamy hot. And then we scoop our pumpkin right out, same way. Now, I'm going to put this in here just so you can see. I want you to see them side by side so you see the difference in not texture. The texture is very similar. You can't really see texture, right? You've got to feel texture mostly. But the color is what I want you to see. So, almost done, y'all. Thank you for being patient with me. I guess I could never work in quickly in a fancy restaurant because I want to be precise and I don't like to waste. And in the fancy restaurants, because they're moving so fast, then unfortunately some stuff gets wasted, right? Okay. So we'll push that aside, and I'll do the other side later, but I just want you to see. So you see the difference? So on this side is my baked one, and it's just a little bit darker orange. So if you're going to be using it in pie, then you may want to go ahead and bake it in the oven. But on this side is the one that was steamed. And so it is a little bit less orange, but more true to the color of what our pumpkin is. And that you might use for our pumpkin hummus. You might use it in your baked goods. Again, puree it and freeze it. You can use it in your baked goods in place of the oil or the butter. So it makes it healthier. When my boys were younger, they were actually allergic to dairy. So I would use pumpkin puree and baked goods so they could still have it. Because they were allergic not just to dairy. They were allergic to dairy and eggs. So it was hard to do baked goods, right? But what I just want to show you is the last step to turn it into a puree. And again, I'll put that other one in here in just a minute. But again, I just want to be really respectful of your time. I'm going to put the top on. And this is our manual food processor, the Power Chef. And this is the other part of my morning workout, right? My weekend workout. And let me show you what I've got. And it's almost there. So all I would need to do at this point is to go ahead and take a spatula and push it down a little bit and finish pureeing it until it's creamy. Or if I wanted to, I could switch it. Instead of this blade, we also have a whipping blade. Put the whipping blade in and do that same thing and it'll cream it together. So anyways, for again, if you want pumpkin, real pumpkin puree, you're pretty much going to have to make it yourself. Otherwise, what you get in the store, in the cans, if you do it that way, is mostly other varieties of squash. But honestly, if you're making pumpkin pie and sweet is what you're looking for, then you're going to want the sweeter, right? Because regular pumpkin's not as sweet. But if you're looking for the health benefits and you want pumpkin, you want real pumpkin, and this is great for your cookies and all of those other things, then this is the way to go. And again, I prefer steaming it just because of time-wise. It's fast, it's easy, the cleanup is easier as well because of all of this goes into the dishwasher, right? And even on my silicone mat, it's nice because it won't stick, so I can just take the mat and throw it in the dishwasher and put the cookie sheet away. Okay, you guys, I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you so much, and everybody have a super, super happy and super safe holiday season, and enjoy all of your pumpkin treats. Bye. So if you watched my homemade pumpkin puree video, then I showed you one pumpkin that I already had coming out of the microwave, but here is the one that you actually saw me cut in the video, and gotta love when this happens. Oops, I'm trying to look at the camera, do it through the camera, but yay, so I don't even have to scoop this one out. Pretty awesome. There's my pumpkin. Oh, now it's steaming up the camera. Okay, thanks everybody.